Hey traders, welcome to the background color function lesson. For this lesson, we're starting with a blank script and I'm going to set overlay to true. Whoops, that's not true. That's true. So I'm going to set the overlay parameter of our indicator function to true. What this does is makes the script, whatever we draw out of our script, draw onto price action onto our chart. So I'm going to save the script and add it to my chart, make sure that works. There we go, we're plotting the closing price as a line over price action. We're good to go. So for this lesson, I'm going to show you how to change the background color of your chart to detect certain candlestick patterns. And for today's lesson, we're going to be detecting inside bars. So any bar that has its high and its low contained within the previous bar. So this would be a good example of that. Here we have a bearish candle, and then the next candle prints within the bounds of that bearish candle, and therefore is an inside bar. Now we're going to cover price analysis in future lessons, so don't worry if this is getting a bit ahead for you when we start doing a little bit of price analysis here. So I'm going to create a new variable here called inside, and I'm going to set this to a Boolean value. And this Boolean check is going to say, is the current bar's high less than the previous bar's high? And is the current bar's low greater than the previous bar's low? So we're checking, is the current bar's high less than the previous bar's high? And is the current bar's low greater than the previous bar's low? That gives us an inside bar. And then in order to detect this inside bar, we're going to use the BG color function. Now, to tell the BG color function when to change color and when not to change color, we need to use a Boolean value. The way we do this is using what is called a ternary operator. Now don't freak out, it sounds scarier than it is. A ternary operator or a conditional operator or statement is basically a true or false statement. It's saying, is X true? If so, do A. Otherwise, if X is not true, then do B. And this is what it looks like. It's a little bit like algebra. I know if you're anything like me, you hated algebra in school, but don't worry, this is extremely simple algebra. We're just saying, is X true? If it is true, do this. Otherwise, if it's false, do this instead. That is the best way to change the background color of your chart in PineScript, and I'll show you how to do it right now. So we're going to say, is inside true? If so, set the background color of our chart to color.blue. Otherwise, set it to nothing or NA. And the otherwise operator here is just a colon. So the way I've become accustomed to explaining this is through treating this like a question. So I say, is inside true? Question mark. If so, paint it blue. Otherwise, do nothing. NA means nothing. Don't do anything. Leave the background color alone. The background of our chart has done nothing wrong. We want to leave it alone. But if we have an inside bar, then we want the background color to change. We want to be notified that that is the case. So when I save the script here, we should get the background color changing for these inside bars. There we go. Perfect. Well, almost perfect. It's a little bit bright. I didn't expect it to be so bright. Obviously, transparency is set to 0 by default. That didn't used to be the case. Normally, when you set the background color of your chart, it was quite faint, but they've obviously changed that recently. And so that's fine. That's a good opportunity for me to show you how to add transparency to your background colors. Now, adding transparency to all of your drawing tools is the same method in PineScript. We need to use the color.new function. And in this color.new function, we can pass in an inbuilt color. So in this case, we're working with the color blue. So we can write color.blue. Then we need to put in a comma so that we can pass in another parameter to this color.new function, which is the transparency amount as a percentage. So 100 would mean it's fully transparent. 0 would give us what we see here. So let's set this to 50 and see what it looks like. I'll hit save. There we go. That's a little bit better. Now it's a little bit easier to see the candles on top of the background color. And now our script is detecting all the inside bars that are printing onto our chart. It's really simple to do. Obviously, you need to learn how to use this little ternary operator thing, but with practice, you'll get the hang of this. It's actually quite simple. We will be using this a lot in future scripts, so don't worry if you don't understand this yet. It will come to you in time as you see more practical examples of it being used. Now, before we wrap up this lesson, let's have a look at the other parameters that the background color function can take. The next one is offset. So I've showed you offset in the plot function lesson, if you've watched that, and hopefully you have. All of these lessons build on top of each other, one after another, so make sure to watch them in order if you're new to PineScript. But this offset parameter will just move the background color X amount of bars to the left or right. So if you put in a negative number, it'll move that many bars to the left. If you put in a positive number, it'll move that many bars to the right. So let's start with -1, for example. I'll zoom in right in here. Now these two background color candles will move or shift back 1 bar when I hit save. Watch this. Save. There we go. They've moved back. If we set this to 10, for example, now they'll shift 10 bars to the right. So hit save, and there we go. They're now shifting 10 bars to the right. If I scroll to the end of our chart, you can see that these background colors are way away from price action because they're being drawn offset by 10 bars. The next parameter that we can work with is editable, which I've showed you now a couple of times in the past few lessons. This just makes it so that the user cannot change the background color style in the style menu. As I keep saying, I don't know why you would want to do this, but you can if you want to. So I can set that to false, and now the user is stuck with whatever design choices I make, whatever color schemes I choose when making my script. So if you're a control freak, then maybe this parameter is for you, but I prefer not to use it. I like to give my script users as much control over my script as possible. The next parameter is show_last. So this is how many bars to show this background color on from the last bar on our chart. So if I set this to 10, we will only see these background colors being drawn, and anything 10 bars or more to the left in historical price action from the current bar will be no longer drawn. And then finally, the final parameter we have to work with is title. So this just titles our plot. So I could call this anything I want. I could call it how deep is your love, for example. And if I save the script, maybe some of you will get that reference. Here we go. Our background color is now changed to whatever we want to title it so that the user knows what this does. Obviously, this title is not very helpful, but you get the idea. In your own scripts, you would call this, for example, I like to use background colors for filters in my script. So maybe you could call this inside bar filter. And maybe you don't trade setups that occur when the background color of your chart has changed color, or maybe you only trade setups that occur within the shaded color on your chart. Anyway, that's it for the background color function lesson. I hope you found this interesting. If not, I apologize. The course will hopefully get more engaging and interesting as we progress. I just need to teach you all this basic stuff so that when we get to the more advanced stuff, you are well prepared with a solid foundation and understanding of how all these functions work so that we don't get overwhelmed when I start pumping out lines of code like this on the fly. I don't want you to be left behind. So as I've said before, if you're new to PineScript, make sure to watch all of these lessons because they will be helpful in the future in terms of you understanding what's going on with more complex scripts. So that'll do it. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.